As you may have noticed, there are a whole lot of visiting bots here today. So that's part of the exercise that I'm going to walk you through today. I have been testing out 5 of them. They're meeting note takers. I'm going to show you what they look like on the back end. And like I told Janelle yesterday, I have not picked a clear winner. They all have varying degrees of accuracy and suckiness. So I'll show you what that looks like today.
That's a technical term if anybody was wondering.
Suckiness, by the way. It only reserved for us AI enthusiasts. That's right. So anyway, it's going to be interesting. If any of you guys have anything neat or new that you want to talk about, let me know. Feel free to chat. Did you discover anything cool this week? Have you heard anything that would be fun to share with the crew? We accomplished a lot of really interesting things this week, made a lot of progress in various tools, some of which we'll share next week. If you guys have future topics you want to discuss, of course, let me know. And I want to kind of share my screen and walk you through some of the things that we have been playing with. So like I said, we have a lot of bots on the screen today. So I kind of want to show you what these things look like on the back end. I'm assuming everybody can see that. And like I said, if you have thoughts, questions, concerns, comments, just speak up, because as when I share my screen, I can't necessarily see everybody. So, all right, so take a look at this. So we have Fathom, Airgram, MeetGeek, Fireflies, and Otter. And those are the front ends of the UIs that you can see. So they all have pros and cons. The thing I like most about Fathom is I can scroll down through history and I can see all the screenshots of everybody. And so I immediately know, who I'm looking for. And this goes back to December, by the way. So I have almost 8 months of history on here. And if I want to, and I have done this demo for a couple of you before, but I know back in December, one of the guys that I spoke with used the phrase gold mine. So I'll just do a search for gold mine, and you can see it has a whole bunch of them. Now, since I've done this for a lot of people and the transcription tool goes, now you can see there's a whole lot of these things that have the phrase gold mine, but there's really only one guy that I was pointing to that said it. So now it searches all those transcripts, and I can scroll all the way down here to the bottom. And Joe is the one who actually said it. And then when I hit play down here at the bottom, hang on a minute, I need to turn on my audio so that you can hear this.
To you a little bit, but that's what I'm seeing with where you're headed. I think you're sitting on a gold mine here.
So that was pretty cool, right? I mean, it instantly found it. This was January of this year, right? So that's searching through a ton of meetings and instantly finding something that was relevant, right? So if you have a conversation with somebody and you remember you were talking about a topic or a product or something like that, Fathom's pretty cool for searching that entire thing and then jumping you straight to the point in the video where you can take a look at it. The other thing that's kind of interesting, Janelle, I'm going to tap into our little conversation without, we didn't talk about anything too terribly confidential, but you can see over here, you can scroll down and you see the transcript and it'll immediately bop you to the conversation as you scroll down, which is really neat. You could also highlight certain things and click over here and I can say, Janelle gave me a positive reaction to something, and I can do this. It'll highlight that whole area of the video clip. And then if that weren't enough, and by golly, don't you think it should be, I could take this thing and I could copy it and paste it into an email, and Janelle, that would bring you right to that clip, and it would only show you that clip. So if I have a piece of a conversation like with a client or something like that, and I need to tell one of my employees, hey, I need you to follow up on this, I could literally go in here, segment it out, forward them the link. I could do the same thing with the client and say, hey, in our conversation, you said this, here's a link to it. Or I said this, if you want to follow up. So you could literally send somebody just pieces of a conversation. So Fathom's really good with that. The thing it's not so good about is the actual transcription. They all, like I said, they all have varying degrees of accuracy, but I've found that sometimes Fathom doesn't really split speakers apart.
At this time, large bags must go in an overhead bin.
Well, we know who that is. So anyway, so it's interesting when it doesn't break a speaker appropriately, then that means that if you're trying to run a transcript test on it, it obviously will attribute whatever it is to the wrong person. So that's the part that I don't like. Other times it will get a word so wrong that it changes the entire meaning of the sentence, and sometimes dramatically so. So that's a shortcoming. Over here is Airgram. I'm testing out theirs. It's interesting, I'm not really crazy about it yet. So, I'm still in the free version. I imagine there's more you could do with it if you weren't, but like, see here, I kicked it out of the meeting here just to show you, but this is kind of what it does. It gives you a little bitty transcript, and it appropriately attributes the speakers correctly, which is nice. But it doesn't quite give you video clips that you can send out that are useful the way you could do in the other one. You could edit the transcript, you can create a clip. It's a little bit more clunky. You could share it, but it has some interesting things. But I'm not totally convinced I like it as much. In terms of accuracy, I have found it's a little more accurate in some respects in terms of breaking the speakers apart. But again, I've seen it translate words not so well. MeetGeek is another one, and you can see over here you have upcoming and past meetings, all that stuff. All of these will automatically join your Zoom meeting instantly, which is kind of neat. A couple of them, I can't recall which ones, but a couple of them will join a Google Meets thing or a Teams meeting. I wish I could remember which one was which, but I think it's Airgram. I think Airgram will go into all of the above, which is kind of handy. MeetGeek, same kind of deal, right? So if I go over here to this particular meeting, I can click on it, it'll show it over here. If I go to view meeting and in those spots, it opens up a new tab, which is different from the rest of them. And I can also run through here and it'll jump to it. Now, since I'm on the free trial, I don't actually get to see the video, so I'd have to upgrade, but it does have some, well, this is interesting. I just now noticed it. It put a concern up here. I didn't make that tag. It did it itself. So the AI tool appears to be making a judgment call. So who knew? Because I have voiced my concern that I hadn't made up my mind yet. So it's like, that must be a concern. So that's kind of interesting. And here I expressed some reluctance on another product called Catapult. Really interesting. All right, Fireflies on the other end, it kind of looks like this. And I have a few meetings inside of that. When you go into like the transcript, it puts it over here. It has these tag clouds kinds of things where you could take a look at it. It has some interesting things, but again, I found it accurate in some parts of the transcriptions and less accurate in others. So yeah, Thomas, I thought that sentiment analysis was pretty cool, right? I'm just looking at the chat. Sorry, I just now noticed. Otter is kind of interesting because you can dictate into your phone, it'll do the transcript. And if you pay the upgraded version, it'll automatically join your Zoom meetings and do some transcripts. It won't record the video though. It'll do some screenshots, which is somewhat interesting. But when you go into the way this thing transcribes, you know, it gives you some keyword stuff. It gives you some takeaways. None of these things are really accurate in terms of takeaways is the way I would look at it. Fireflies actually had an interesting summary feature that I forgot exactly where it is, but it provided a little bit of a summary and attempted to break it into topics, follow-ups, etc. So we decided, because that's how we are, we want it to be accurate, right? And so the thing that you can do with all of them is you could create an AI summary, which if you haven't cleaned up your transcript, the summary is going to be wrong. So the problem I see with Fathom is the minute you click this, it generates an AI summary and you can't regenerate it. So you have to try to clean up your stuff first. Cleaning them up on any of these tools is a pain. I'll just say that. So what I always do is I just copy the transcript into another Google Doc, and then we try to clean it up in there. It's a lengthy step, so it's you know, it's still better than taking notes manually, right? You can at least pay attention. But
John, I have a question. What does cleaning up mean? Just editing out stuff that's silly, or hello, how are you?
All of the,
you know, how's the weather there? Just getting rid of that so your meeting is focused.
Concise. Yes. So there's that, but you're also looking for things like, for instance, when we're talking about a company name, all right, it doesn't necessarily know it's a company name. All right. Especially if you have a company, like we have a client who's called Interwest Safety Supply. We refer to it as Interwest. Sometimes it spells it INNER West, you know, right? So you have to go clean that kind of junk up. Same with hang on a second. Oink. There we go. Michelle. Same with other things like spelling of names. If you say Chat GPT, it has no clue most of the time. There are a couple of them that actually know what Chat GPT is. Fathom does not. It'll say Chad GPT and thinks GPT is Chad's last name. You know, it's just goofy stuff like that. So the reason we paste it into a Word document or into a Google Doc is because you can do mass replaces and get there faster, right? In Otter, one of the things that I noticed that it, unless you have all of the speakers in here, you know, and I have all these speakers in here, first of all, you can't change the speaker list, which is really weird. So it doesn't necessarily identify, like this one, it doesn't know who this is. I would then have to create a tag of the new speaker's name, and then I can't get rid of that down the road. Right. So the more you start to scale with Otter, the more you get this monster list of potential speakers. And, you know, it's just kind of a pain. And I don't know why it won't pull the speaker name straight out of Zoom, but it doesn't. So, you know, way big points off for Otter. The rest of these actually pull the attendee name from the Zoom meeting, which is pretty handy. All right. So what we did is we set up a mock transcript. All right. So we took a transcript from a meeting, scrubbed it, changed the names to protect the innocent. Right. So I could show you how you can take a transcript and really do some cool stuff to speed up the process. Yeah. That was Kelly's Mad Men reference, the Don Draper stuff. Go Kelly. So has anybody else had any experience doing this before? If you have, speak up. No, nobody's ever done a transcript. How many of you use AI to record meetings? Corinne, you do, right? Everybody else?
I do.
Does
I've
this put
used
cart reporters
Fathom.
out of business?
Yeah.
I,
I'm sorry. Bob,
John, I
done
use it. I use it when I go do talks at these national conferences. I videotape myself and then I bring it back and I let it transcribe, the session that I did too, right? And then I cut it all down, and then I've used that to feed into Pictory before to make little slideshows and everything else. So
Yeah.
it's just,
No, that's a great idea. Using Pictory to do that. Christine was thumbs up. So Christine, you've done it before. Mitch has used Otter. Okay. Angie, your company turned it off. You used Teams. You need a transcript of the sales call. I had to use Otter. Oh, okay. And so you're saying that they turned it off for privacy reasons, Angie?
Yes. I think there's just a general discomfort with people. I think it's a distrust. We just don't know yet. We just don't, largely people don't understand. And I think it's a battle that's going to have to be refought, because I think it's silly.
Yeah.
It just helps us in every way.
No, for sure. So I'm going to show you how we use it. So if I were to take this whole beast and copy it, and then what I want to do, well, before I actually totally copy it, I'm going to show you, let's see, if I go to the old prompt database, and y'all have seen this before. So we have a couple of prompts for analyzing transcripts. And so I'll take a look at this one. You can see this one has, and for those of you who are new, this is kind of our prompt structure that will emulate how I want to talk and who I'm talking to. Okay. In the newer version, well, we went over this last time, right? The custom instructions inside of ChatGPT, right? Y'all are familiar with this? Okay, so in the custom instructions, you have these two segments here. What I have determined since we were last here is that these basically are just boxes of instructions. And even though they say, this one's for how would you like it to respond, and this one is what would you like it to know, they're the same thing. You could paste anything you want in here and it's going to respond the same way. So it just, each one is limited to 1,500 characters. So we kind of broke it down to where we have some basic stuff about who's doing all the writing. And then over here, we have tonality and then instructions on what not to say. I had to tighten this up, by the way, because I noticed it started to actually use the trite phrases that I told it not to. So I had this originally just said trite, if you remember from last week, but now I got it to say, do not use these trite phrases. And then it stopped doing it. So very interesting. But anyway, in the prompt, if I'm using Claude or something else, I still want it to use a lot of this information so that it speaks the way I want it to speak or writes the way I want it to write. All right. Okay, so then let's take this and we're going to throw it into Claude. There are a couple of ways to do that. First, if I were to go over here and I take this whole thing, which is, like I said, it's already copied in here. If I run over to Claude, it's so big that if I paste it, you can see that it pastes it as text. Okay. Then I'm going to go back over to the prompt. I'm going to copy it now. And I'll go back over here. I'll paste that prompt. Whoops. I'm going to paste it so that you can actually see. So if I do paste and match style, you'll see how it stacks it up. If I just do a straight up paste, it's going to wrap everything. Not that it matters, but once you actually hit submit on this thing, you do want to kind of look at your prompt and say, okay, where do I mess stuff up? How could I clean it up? All right, so let's just watch Claude do its magic. But first, let me kind of walk you through the prompt. What I'm telling it to do is analyze the transcript, which is the uploaded document. And I want it to write in that style. And then I want it to write a list of recommendations and of requests that are made by everybody in this particular transcript. And I want to create a detailed summary of the meeting with requests and recommendations made by each person. I want to write it in the form of an email that would be written by the author, whoever I've posed up here as the author, right? And then I want any recommendations or requests from the author to be written using phraseology like I recommend, I'll need, I believe, I request. And the requests or recommendations from other participants would be written in the second person. A lot of stuff to say, but you kind of get the gist of what we're trying to get it to do. Otherwise, it would be written from the third person, and you'd have to manually turn that into an email. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yep.
Any questions? All right. So now that we're in Claude, let's just rip it and see what happens. I'm surprised it didn't identify who it was talking to, but I guess sometimes it did.
That's unreal.
And that
Mm-hmm.
big time saver.
Yeah,
Mhm.
huge.
Yeah, no, it's
John,
really
I
cool.
wanted to ask, what's the name of that software you said this is Claude? Because
Yeah.
I came like 10 minutes late. I apologize.
Oh yeah, no problem, Archie. Yeah, this is Claude, Claude.ai. It's by Anthropic.
Okay, Claude.
There's some circumstances where I like it better. First of all, I believe it has allows you to utilize what are tokens. If you speak tokens, it's 100,000 tokens versus I think 4,000 in GPT or 8,000 in GPT if you're using code interpreter. So that just means you can put more stuff in it. All right. Claude is also free currently. No telling how long that'll last. But, you talk about a big time saver. It tells everybody what to do in an email. All right. Now, if I do the same thing over here in ChatGPT, now I'm going to turn off my custom instructions over here. All right. And I will go back over here. And I think because this is such a big document, I'm going to have to actually download this as a text file. I could do it as a Word document, but by and large, I've found that text files are a little bit better. Okay, so now I'm going to take that text file and I need to, let's see, let me turn on Code Interpreter here so we can upload it. Once you turn on Code Interpreter, now you get the upload feature. All right, so we'll upload the beast. Go back over here where it's downloads. All right, so now we got that. We'll go back over. Whoops. Too many screens, y'all. Sorry.
I was going to say, you got to tell us to look away, man. Someone's going to drop into
That's right. There'll be
into a fit.
Close your eyes. All right. So now I'm going to take that and I'll paste the beast. And you can see it's got all my tone and all that stuff. So basically what I'm saying is I'm putting them on equal footing. So I gave Claude the exact same instructions that I'm giving GPT. We'll hit roll on that. And you can see it starts to cook. I want to show you a couple other tricks that I learned yesterday on GPT. So this is giving me a summary. So it's doing it a little bit differently.
Oh, this is scary because it makes face-to-face meetings obsolete. This is better than a face-to-face, besides strip out the body language and the spontaneity, and I like everybody, but this is much more helpful as a follow-up tool.
Yeah.
Than I'm
so here
face-to-face.
Well, you have to have the face-to-face in order to get this to actually work, right? But as a follow-up tool, this kicks butt. as opposed to having another face-to-face follow-up meeting to say, did you do, you know?
Oh, I thought this was from
is
an
good.
online.
Now, John, if you notice, it's saying that I trust this email finds you well on your Hello Team part of that.
Right. And that's what I told it not to say, right? So that frustrates me. Every now and then it does it well, and then other times it doesn't. So, oh, you know why? I don't have the negative prompt in here.
Yeah, you didn't have the stuff in there.
Yeah, because I turned it off.
Right.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
so
I thought you were going to cut and paste those instructions over too to put it on the same.
Yeah, yeah. I just left the same stuff in here. So we'll do it one more time, and we'll turn on my negative prompts now that you've seen what it'll do without the negative prompts. Okay, I like Claude's format better, right? Because it's just saying it has bullets, but you know, hey, that's just me. Okay, so let's do it one more time, this time with feeling. And this time we're going to turn on the custom instructions. And we'll upload the same transcript, and we'll paste all of this stuff, but I'm going to delete this redundant stuff from the prompt because it's already in my custom instructions, and even more so. Okay, so it already knows all this. So I actually don't even need this because that's already embedded in my custom instructions, right? Tell me if I missed anything, because I'm likely to do that, but here goes nothing. This is interesting.
Patience killing me.
You can already see that there's going to come a day when people are mad because it takes so long to do 3 days work in 2 minutes.
Yeah, I'm already starting to go, come on, hurry.
Yeah. I mean, it just happens, right? The faster your machine boots up, the more you yell at it when it doesn't boot up.
Exactly.
Before you press the button.
John, I'm going to put it's Jalen. I'm going to put a prompt in the chat that
Okay.
I used earlier this week, and it was wild. They took a transcript from a webinar and then turned it into use cases for YouTube and SEO writings.
Ooh, all right, let's try that.
Similar to what you're doing, but with a different endpoint.
That's wild. Transcript to the webinar. I wonder what it would do. Of course, this isn't a webinar transcript that we have here.
Right. Up above
Yeah.
it, I put in the chat prior, they were talking about meetings and how they use it, but their use case was just different.
Yeah. If I had a webinar transcript, that would be really cool to use and clean up. Yeah, because, obviously with a webinar, you can turn it into a multitude of different content, right? Posts, etc. So
exactly
good stuff.
But this is need is meetings like this.
Yeah, you wouldn't happen to have a transcript of a webinar handy, would you?
Yeah, really. I don't.
Let's see. But see, anyway, this gave us a summary, and it wrote it up. It got a little bit too informal, I think, because of the parameters that I gave it that are inside of my custom instructions. But I still kind of like the way Claude played on this particular one, So that's why, to me, it's kind of fun to have two tools that you want to go back and forth with, because sometimes one works a lot better than the other. I've had, I can't tell you, for instance, that 100% of the time ChatGPT is better or Claude's better. But I know, depending upon what I'm trying to do, a lot of times Claude comes out better. If I have a whole lot of data, Claude allows me to do a whole lot more with it. So, Jillian, if you want to tell people about the Copy AI webinar, that was really cool. So Jolene told me about this webinar, sent me a link to it. She's put it up here in the chat. Copy AI has these workflows they've now built into their AI system, and it makes it really, really interesting and easy to use. But y'all should go check that out. It's very cool. All right. Now,
I got.
there
I
was.
haven't done it yet, but I will, John. I'll let you know by next week.
Okay, cool. Yeah, because I started to look at that webinar. I was like, I know we have a. Well, we at one point we had a Copy AI subscription, which is why I have this over here, so I can look really quickly and see if I have. Do I still have Copy AI? No, apparently we killed it, so I don't have that anymore. But I have to have all these databases to find all the tools that we're using. All right, so that one did that. Now let's take a look at this one, which is a little bit different. And this one, sometimes you can upload a transcript, sometimes you can paste a transcript, whatever, but this is a little different prompt. I had played around with, I think I told you all before, played around with uploading a PDF to a web site, our website, and then having a plugin analyze the PDF. And the plugins started to hallucinate. Fortunately, GPT came out with the code interpreter, so I was able to upload it that way. But the plugins, I'm not sold on their ability to legitimately read a PDF. It's like they started to work, but the minute you got over like 10 pages, they would choke and just make stuff up. So if I were to take that same document now and use a different prompt, and I don't need this because it's there, and I'll leave the custom instructions on, but see here, it's telling you to list the speakers, organize the speakers, create a list of action items, all that stuff. So this one is different. So it's not creating an email. It's just basically analyzing what we have and presenting the information differently. And while that's doing that, because I'm that impatient, we'll go over here and we'll do it again. Let's see, where's downloads again? Yeah, let's play around with Claude. We'll paste the same thing. We'll get rid of this because it already knows. It's still writing over here. Just about wrapped it up.
Think about all the man hours that you're going to be able to get rid of, oh Lord.
Right. But if you have an assistant, you know, just having your assistant do this saves a ton of time.
I have someone who's like I mean, she's a black belt ninja at note taking, but even so, this would augment, because you get the same problem. If you're taking notes, if a lot of things are happening simultaneously, you're not going to catch, you may not catch it, right? Whereas this could definitely help. So.
Yeah. Now look at the difference in the formatting too. So this is where you would probably have to go in and fine tune your prompt to get it to do something differently. But see, problem solution, this is still pretty interesting, right? Let's take a look at this. He suggests. Now we had another one. Yeah, here we go. Problems identified, solutions proposed, requests, action items, problems identified, proposed, requests, action items. You know, again, that was kind of the prompt. That's what I wanted to get out of the prompt. Mm-hmm. We did another one, Kelly, maybe you could speak to this, but we actually had ChatGPT grade the idea that somebody put forth, right? Where somebody proposed an idea and we told ChatGPT to say, look, if somebody put out an idea, tell us whether you think it was a good one. And it was I can't show you that particular thread because it was an actual conversation with a client, but it came back and said, oh, this was a good idea. This one wasn't so good because of X, Y, and Z. I'm like, whoa, that's really interesting. So you just have to be thinking in terms of, all right, if this is legitimately artificial intelligence, what can we,
did you
what can we
agree,
get out of it?
John? Did you agree with the feedback when it?
I kind of did,
Wow, that's amazing.
Right.
Wow.
I got a guy with a leaf blower out back. Can y'all hear that? Or is it just me?
No.
Okay.
Just you.
Good. All right. But yeah, no, I actually did agree with him. Raul, you have the question or you're thumbing up and you're just casting a vote. All right, you're
Hey, John, I do have,
go for it.
Where I'm seeing this very applicable, at least in my business, is if we're recording the support call. So customer calls in, I've got an issue, how am I going to fix it? Well, number one, I would be interested to know if they can grade the support rep. If they can say, hey, they had a positive attitude, and then obviously a follow-up email to the client saying, you called with these issues, we come up with these solutions over on the call, or it's still pending, or what have you. But that would be tremendous if it could take a support rep's call and analyze it.
It can absolutely do that.
They can do that, absolutely.
Yeah. Yeah. You just give it the parameters of what constitute good customer service or bad. A lot of times it's going to have its own opinions in there, and you can kind of filter it out. The key obviously is in the transcription, if it's a legit transcription, but it could do that. Like just yesterday, we were using it to do a competitive analysis. And so we started to build this monstrous prompt that would, you plug in a couple of URLs and then you have it analyze according to 10 different criteria as to whether or not this particular website is doing certain things from an SEO perspective and from a copywriting perspective and from a conversion perspective. Well, there's no tool that does this, right? There's no, you have all these they're not really artificial intelligence. They're more like machine learning things where they're just going to analyze and say, oh yeah, this code is doing this and this code is doing that. And so they come up with these grading systems that are kind of hokey, but none of them say whether or not the copywriting is good, whether the headline is compelling, whether there are conversion mechanisms, whether they're offering a lead magnet. There isn't a tool that does that. So we decided we would write one. And then we had it apply our traditional grading scale. So when we do a competitive analysis for one of our clients, we have a 50-point checklist and we grade it. We have a simplified grading scale. It's 0 if they don't have it, 1 if they have it, but it's not really well executed, and 2 if it's really well executed. That makes it a simple grading scale rather than getting too subjective over whether it's a 1 through 10, Well, it actually did a pretty good job. There were a couple of them where I was like, you're wrong. And the thing that was bothering me was the inconsistency. It's like one time it would say there's no, what was it? It was we were trying to get it to tell us whether or not there was Google Analytics or some other analytics package installed. And 2 times it would say no, and the other times it would say yes. I'm like, you should know that. So, but it analyzed the copy. Like for instance, I plugged in the URL of the blog for this particular client, and I had it tell me whether or not the headlines were compelling and spoke directly to their avatar. And it said yes, but then I improved the prompt and I said, if no, tell me why, give me an example of a better headline. And damned if it didn't write a better headline, I was like, okay, that's interesting. But on another one, it came back and said, oh yeah, these are compelling headlines. And I completely disagreed. I thought they were headlines that would drive irrelevant traffic and not the kinds of traffic that would lead to a conversion for this client. So clearly, I have to create more specificity in the prompt so that it could know the difference between good and bad. But, to the point, Bob, the more you can tell the AI what's good and what's bad and what's average, then the more it could actually do that analysis for you. But it's a great use case, Bob. Anybody else have any experience with stuff like that?
I'm working on a project that lets people do what we call incident response walkthroughs. So they just use chat engines to kind of walk through their cybersecurity incident response plan. And so we've tied it to an AI engine to do exactly what you're talking about, analyze the language to see if that language is stressed language, or is it negative language, or is it positive language? So we're going to incorporate that into our product before too long, but it does do that. I mean, that is what it's really good at, is analyzing language and then, using it to draw conclusions, or at least inferences about what words are used in what order, punctuation, all those things. It can kind of tell you, okay, this person's under a little bit of stress, or, this was an adversarial response versus not. But like you said, you have to ask it for those things.
Yeah.
In an engineered way. So.
Yeah. No, every day I'm trying to push it a little bit farther to simplify the stuff we do. And, sadly, I'm one of those guys that'll spend 8 hours of time to spend 10 minutes later. But I know that it's one of those things that if you have something that you're constantly doing over and over again, it's worth it sometimes to spend the 8 hours, because then you literally get that off of your plate, right? And things can really move fast. At that point.
Conversely, if you're only going to do it once, don't burn 8 hours.
Absolutely. Yeah. Do it manually. That's right. Go old school. Yeah. And I'm starting to get, like for our competitive analysis, there's so much of it that we can't do manually. I'm sorry, we can't do with any kind of bot. We have to actually do it manually. Like, for instance, we test to make sure that if somebody's got a contact us form on there, or they've got some sort of a lead magnet form on there, we fill it out because we want to know, is there a drip sequence behind it? How fast does the customer follow up with a contact us thing? Do they call you? Is it within 24 hours, 2 hours, or do they just blow you completely off? So those things you can't get a bot to do, but the stuff that you can get it to do is pretty cool. So anyway, I'm trying to think if there are any other things that we have done. Kelly, was there something else that you were playing around this week that, other than building out the competitive table?
That you already mentioned the two that we've been working on.
Yeah.
In the last couple of days.
No, but I'm trying to think if I should go look at the library and see some of the things that I've been playing around with. But for the most part, all I've been working on this week is trying to get GPT, all these little bots that you see in here, trying to figure out which one does the better job, which one can legitimately be more like a 90%er, so that you don't have to take so much time cleaning it up. But in the past, I've had to spend more time cleaning it up than I actually spent inside the meeting. But once you get something that's a better fit, it's like, I think, Paul, you were talking about it. If you could just go in and delete the fluff, the, hey, how are yous, and then the chat about the weather and all that stuff, then you get an even tighter thing. But you don't want to spend a whole lot of time doing that. That may be another thing that the AI could do. Just say, hey, I want you to remove any conversation about weather. But at that point, I start to get worried that it'll crop out something because it wasn't translated well.
So, John, I just thought of a use case. I'm in customer support, right, with bots, and we have access to tons of agent transcriptions when they're talking on the phone to people historically. And our job as autonomous chatbot developers is to take those conversations and simplify them and automate as many as we can with the chatbot online. So I'm wondering, in the meantime, if I can't provide a service as we're customizing these bots for clients that take those transcripts using the tools you just discussed and analyze so that the humans themselves actually get better in the process. Analyze by operator. really.
Yeah. And I would imagine that you're going to see that embedded in a lot of these tools already. So as you're building a bot, to be able to build that in there as a feature, I think makes a whole lot of sense. Somebody else is going to do it if you don't.
Right.
Right.
And that's
So,
exceptional. And even in the meantime, everything that we're seeing, but I worry that it's all got PHI. So how do you do this without having it all GPT or somewhere?
You can, there are a couple offshoots. ChatGPT is just one branch of a large language model machine. So there are other branches, and those you can actually purchase, and then they're more expensive than ChatGPT, but they allow you to do basically a customized front end data set that's really just related to whatever your task is, right? So you can run those kinds of things through it, and it doesn't really add any of that information to the overall learning database of the underlying AI engine. So there's technical ways to kind of do what and the reason I'm saying is we're doing it now for our customer care people, because we've kind of started playing around with including that in our customer portal, so that when our people are on the call with them or video chatting them or just chatting in general, we're building our module on we're building a module on our learning machine to be customized to us as a company, so that we can, kind of set parameters that way. But I mean, there are ways of doing that. It's not, I don't want to imply that it's trivial. It's not nearly as trivial. I mean, everything we've been doing now is cut and paste, right? But this takes more work, but there are ways to do it. I guess that was the point. So if you really want to do it, you could have some of your technical folks kind of start looking down that path about, hey, could we do that? But I agree with John. It's just a matter of time before that capability winds up being added into just about everything, because we're already seeing it, right? The generative part of the AI, where you can just put words in it and it'll build something for you. It's already getting built into Adobe product sets. All the products are starting to add those things, because it's just a generative language model, that solves that application. But to your point, this is where it's really going to get, we're just starting down this path of AI being kind of used in a more mass way. And there are going to be lots of permutations and branches out of things you can do with it over time, right? So it's good to be paying attention now and to be staying relevant, staying in it and keeping relevant, because it's going to really it's really going to change the way a lot of work is done over time. It's not going to be immediate, but next few years are going to be really interesting. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thomas, you've been talking about using it to grade your old blog posts. You mind chatting and tell us how you do that, because you don't like the criticism? Or are you able to unmic?
I can imagine running all my stuff through it and it tell me I was lousy and not being happy about it. I mean, I could see that happen. Doesn't seem like a far stretch. Like, hey, whatever you're doing, human, it's a swing and a miss. You're not where you need to be.
Right. Yeah. Now, like I said, Thomas's mic apparently isn't working, but that's okay. So yeah, I've done that too. Sometimes I agree and sometimes I'm not so sure, but it's like anything else. If the AI is not truly schooled on what's effective, it's going to give you the wrong answer, which is why when it comes to writing direct response copy, you have to give it examples of what works and then turn around and tell it to write something, that's effective. So it's really fascinating to me, though, to kind of Jillian's point, how I haven't seen a software application yet. Well, I probably have, but I haven't seen one yet that hasn't come out with something that says, oh, now we have AI in our software. They're all doing it. And it's coming at us so fast that it's hard to keep up. But I had a conversation 2 days ago with a company called, phooey, what was the name? Give me a second, because they do, I'm gonna have to pull up my calendar. So some of y'all, I'm sure, have heard of this particular company. Okay, not that one. Oh yeah. That, woodpecker. Have y'all heard of woodpecker? Nobody? Woodpecker.co. Yeah. So it's if you're doing cold email outreach and you're trying to verify leads and all that stuff, Woodpecker is an interesting tool. But they've acquired another company that you've probably seen these tools out there where you can record something where I could say, hi, Bob. And then I could record a whole bunch of other stuff about wanting to reach out to you because we do this, this, and this. And I saw that you guys are potentially a good fit for what we're trying to do, right? Behind this, my face might be a picture of Bob Miller's website. And it looks like I'm literally discussing Bob Miller's website. But the part that, the hi and then the insert name here part is driven by AI, where it moves your mouse. So it might say, hi, Bob, hi, Barry, hi, Jalen. And the rest is all, AI driven. And I've seen this tool before. It's a clever gimmick to get somebody to look at your email and play out your video. So they do have a better open rate, a better click-through rate. So there are some benefits to that. But I told him, I said, look, the one thing that you and everybody else keeps failing on is you have one field for the person's name, but you don't have a field for how you pronounce that name. And so what happens is I either have to phonetically spell out the name so that the AI, emulating my voice, will pronounce the name right. But when I do that, then the closed caption hearing thing on the bottom spells out the phonetic thing, or the email sends out the phonetic thing. So anyway, he's like, well, maybe that's a regional thing, because I was telling him, in Louisiana, right? Somebody whose name.
It's regional with the entire world, maybe. I mean, there's
that's
a lot
what
of
I told him.
names.
I was like, dude,
don't be silly.
Yeah, exactly. Just because we pronounce David, that doesn't mean, I mean, like Jillian, the first time I met her, I was like, is it Jillian? Is it Jillian? Is it Jillian? And she's like, it's Jillian. Okay, so great. There's no use case in the world that I think that doesn't apply, right? And so he's like, that's a good idea. And I was like, well, then be the first to put it in. It's a simple thing to do. And he started talking about how complicated. I'm like, no, you just duplicate the first name column and let somebody go down there and then replace the first name with a phonetic spelling, because the AI is not getting it.
If there's something in the second column, use that for pronunciation, but use the first column for the display. Yeah, that's really hard.
Yeah, I was like, dude, I could do that, if I could just teach your bot how to do it. But anyway, so there's a whole lot of new things coming up, and my goal with this is to teach you guys the stuff that we're playing around with in real time. If there are other things that you're doing that you want us to take a look at, let me know. I know, surprised everybody, guess what is finally finished? The replay portal is finally finished.
Good.
So today I'm going to click a couple of buttons a little at a time. Archie, I'll start with you because I know you've been waiting. But I'm going to authorize it, and I'm hoping that it works. Okay. it worked in all my trials. So I'll do a few at a time. And if you don't get one today, holler at me and we'll try to get you fixed up. But I think I walked you through what it looks like, right? So you're going to get access to the course portal first,
right?
And then in there on the left, there's a community. You bop over to the community, and you'll have access to the community. So you're going to get an email from I think it's optics.academy. So be aware of that. And from there, you should get also, well, you won't get anything from the community, but you'll get your login ID and your password, and then you're going to log into Optics Academy, and you'll see the DNA course that we already taught you through, and then you'll have access to the rest. You bet, Chuck. Good to see you. So pay attention to that, if you will. Let's see.
John, did you get all of our revised testimonials?
I didn't get yours, but I appreciate it. Yeah, all those of you did. I haven't had a chance to actually say thank you, but I will today. I got so bogged down in client work, I haven't had a chance to.
Sitting in my
really dive in.
outbox trying to get to you. So.
Well, I appreciate it, Chief. So we'll get it done. Hang on a minute. What I was trying to do is, while we're here, I know we have 2 minutes left. I'm trying to get Archie.
It's your 2 minutes, Archie. Hang in there.
That's right. That's right. This is me waiting for ChatGPT to respond. I'm like, come on, I need WordPress to log in. Okay, so let's just see. Search for Archie. Okay, Archie, I got you in there twice, Gmail and the Technology Edge. Which one do you want to use?
Send it to the technologyedge.com one.
Roger that.
Yeah.
All right. Hold your breath, everyone. Let's see if Archie gets in.
Oh, we're gonna watch it. You're gonna put it on display right now, aren't you? Okay.
Oh.
Put the pressure on.
Yeah.
There it is.
Yeah. Well, he got the email. Is he in?
You got the email. Yeah. Now can you log in?
Yeah. Right. Step one.
It's.
Do we have a winner?
It doesn't
Don't
have
clear your
the
cards
line.
yet.
Yeah, it doesn't have it. Wait. I may be wrong. Hold on for 1 second. Yeah, there is. It is.
You got into the community?
I got 2 emails. So yeah, I did get it. Basically, I got.
Yeah, they probably don't go in the right sequence, of course, but.
Right.
All right.
Okay, it does have my password. Now you may not be able to log in from the email, but once you go to the site and go to Optics, you could probably actually
yeah, you have to cut and paste.
Yeah,
you got to cut and paste.
Right.
Exactly. Awesome. Okay. If there's anything about the process that's clunky, y'all let me know. But for everybody on the call, I'll get y'all situated, and any comments, feel free to email, and we'll rock and roll. But here we are past the buzzer, but I appreciate all y'all joining us. Thanks a lot. And we'll holler at you next week. I might send you an email during the week to say, hey, help me come up with some other ideas and stuff, and we'll make it happen. Or actually just communicate to me in the community portal.
Awesome.
All right. What an idea, huh? All right. Y'all have a great weekend.
Thank you, John.
See you,
Bye-bye.
Thanks, John.